Hi, I'm Snez, personal trainer, healthy lifestyle coach, and your guide to feeling your best. This podcast is a segment from my weekly radio show, Wellbeing Wednesdays, broadcast live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. It's all about sharing real, practical tips to help you move more, eat better, and live healthier without the overwhelm. Let's dive in, shall we? So coming up next is my segment called Habits in the Hot Seat. Now, with Habits in the Hot Seat, it is all about the listeners and the listeners sharing with me their daily habits that then I can unpack and give some advice. And you can jump onto the Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. There is a Google form. It's a quick form where you can share some of your day and some of your habits around food and exercise, sleep and water and coffee habits. And it can be completely anonymous and I will unpack it live on air. I do not need to mention names if you tell me that you do not wish for me to mention them. But then I will go through just like I'm going to do for Megan. I hope Megan is out there listening today. I will be sending this podcast through once it is done to Megan. But once you fill in the form, I will unpack that live and give you some advice. And the whole idea of this segment is it's okay if you don't want me to unpack your life, but in the process of listening to me going through other people's routines, I'm hoping that you will pick up some minor tweaks that you can make to feel better. And that's the whole thing. Habits take time, new routines take time, and that's the idea, is to implement some basic changes that over time add up, because it's not about being perfect. It's not about having a perfect formula that you can stick to. It's just making some basic changes that feel achievable and sustainable that you can then add onto over time, because it's more about being consistent than doing something that feels quite overwhelming for a short period of time. So we want to make gradual changes, but we just want to do it consistently. So let's dive into today's Habits in the Hot Seat for Megan. So Megan is 51. I asked about her goals and she said to make it until I can retire. So I'm not sure whether that meant make it through her work life so she can retire healthily, or whether that was just improving her health so she can retire. But she has shared her day with me. So she drinks about 500 mils of water, so about 2 cups of water a day. She has 1 Dare double or triple espresso iced coffee per day at 8:30 a.m. She doesn't drink any alcohol. She has 1 soft drink at 12:30. Her sleep is quite restful. She goes to bed at 10, listens to a podcast for about 40 to 60 minutes, and then wakes up around 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's sort of 11 to 8. That's some good quality sleep that she's definitely in there long enough. What else? She is not doing any exercise, it looks like. She is not doing any cardio, so I asked about whether she's going for any walks or doing any dancing or swimming or anything like that, any cardio related. There's no cardio and there is no strength training. She also works from home, and a typical day for Megan is she starts the day at 8:30 a.m. with the Dare iced coffee. At 12:30 p.m., 4 hours later, she is having a sandwich, usually a chicken sandwich or salmon or mortadella. So she's having the protein. She didn't share whether she's having vegetables, so I'm going to assume that she's not. And then she has a muffin as well as her soft drink with lunch. And then at 6 o'clock, she's having grilled chicken breast and veggies, or steak and veggies, or grilled fish and chips, or some sushi rolls or salmon sashimi. And she feels that she's eating out of habit rather than hunger, because that's a question that I do ask in the form. And she is also doesn't feel she's overeating. She feels like she eats until she is comfortable. So what can we do here? There are some really obvious ones, and I'm sure if you're listening, you're probably like, well, she needs to do some exercise, but we will get to that. And she's working from home full time, so that I can only assume it means there's limited movement throughout the day. So let's unpack the day from the start. And in terms of the sleep, she's waking up at around 8 o'clock and then she's having her Dare iced coffee at 8:30. So that's the first thing that I'd be trying to improve on. And the coffee is not the issue. The amount of sugar that's probably in those drinks is, and the size of it, but also that it's just missing some nutritional value. So Megan, what I would suggest is let's have a coffee. Maybe if you can make a coffee at home, maybe one that doesn't have as much milk or sugar in it would be a good improvement. But then let's add something to that dish, to the breakfast as well, to increase the nutritional value. Or a tip could be even to make yourself a protein smoothie with a shot of coffee in it. So you are still getting a sweet sort of coffee, but it's a smoothie version, and you could be putting in some almond milk in there, some chia seeds in there, some fruit, even some spirulina powder to get some greens in there. All of a sudden, you're taking in something that's not going to spike your sugar levels throughout the day, but you're giving yourself the nutrients that are going to make you have a more smoother level of energy throughout the day, which is going to fuel your body. So you're going to feel more focused throughout the day and potentially not as hungry later on in the afternoon and evening meals. So starting the day with something a little bit more substantial, but also thinking about increasing the nutritional value of your meal first up. And we want to not only increase nutrients and vitamins and minerals coming from our food and protein, but we also want to make sure that we're getting some good fibre in there, which between adding fibre and protein into this coffee breakfast, you're going to also help with your blood sugar levels to stabilise throughout the day. So that's the first thing that I would do. Going from your breakfast coffee or coffee smoothie, or adding even a piece of toast with some peanut butter on it alongside of that coffee, which would work as well. Again, but I would probably change the nature of that coffee just to reduce the sugar intake. But then eating 4 hours later is absolutely fine. Making sure that at that 12:30, the sandwich is absolutely fine to have. I'd be checking in with the bread. If you are having white bread, I'd probably swap that out for some whole grain bread. And chicken is great. Salmon is great. Try to steer away from the mortadella if you can. Stick with the chicken, or even egg, or even tuna. You are having the salmon. So that's all great. And also what I would do is try to increase the vegetable component of that lunch. So whether you add in some avocado, maybe some mixed leaves or some spinach, or even a side serve of salad if you're not wanting to add that to your actual sandwich. You can always have those things separately, and you've got the luxury of being at home and maybe even heating up some leftovers. If you cooked a good batch of veggies for the previous night's dinner, you could just combine that with your regular chicken sandwich, and that would be a lot better. The muffin, you are having that for lunch as well as the can of soft drink. Now, if you can, I'd go away from the can of soft drink. If you are wanting a little bit of fizz, try and swap that out for a kombucha. There's some really nice ones out there at the moment, or even just some sparkling water, a soda stream or something like that. But let's try and get rid of that sugar out of the diet, and then moving that muffin, if you are going to have it, to mid-afternoon. And so then it's going to take the edge off how much you are having at dinner time. We're going to spread that out. Now, if you can replace that muffin with a home-baked one where you can add some seeds into it, maybe introduce some almond flour, so you are changing the nutrients and increasing the protein and fibre out of the muffin. If it's one that's store-bought, it will be high in sugar, it will be high in nasty fats, so we want to swap that out. But having a muffin in itself and finding a good recipe with a variety of different flours in it is going to increase the nutritional value and is actually a great snack to have. So changing up that muffin, or just getting rid of the muffin and replacing that with some yogurt and some fruit in the afternoon. Having that snack, which I'm going to encourage that you do around about that 3 o'clock time slot, is going to take the edge off how hungry you are feeling, potentially at night time. So definitely adding that some sort of a snack in, and then your grilled chicken breast and veggies or steak and veggies, that all sounds great. The grilled fish and chips, that's okay too. I would still be adding a side salad or some veggies to that, so you reduce the quantity of the chips that you are eating. And eating out of habit, that's one thing that we want to try and shift. So even though I have said add some more food in for breakfast and then add the snack in and here and there, but we do want to make sure that we are reducing the quantities. And it may just be that dinner is really big, that you aren't waking up hungry, so you may want to look at reducing the quantity of your dinner, which by adding that afternoon snack may help you to make that PM snack that little bit lighter and smaller. So the other thing that you definitely want to do is increase the water intake. So you're having 2 cups. Try to aim over the next couple of weeks to increase that to 4 cups and then eventually to 6. And the way that you can do that is just adding a glass of water before or after your meals, or at the afternoon having a tea an hour before you go to bed. And I'm talking more of a herbal tea rather than a black tea or another milky tea. Exercise, definitely something that you can do working from home. A good tip is to use a step tracker either on your phone or on a smartwatch, or even if you've got one of those old step counters at home somewhere in the cupboard, fish it out and try and get to your minimum of 6,000 steps. So anything under 6,000 steps is considered quite sedentary and is then linked to some health-related medical conditions as a result of being inactive. So I would be starting to add in some steps, and if you are working from home, it could be going outside, just walking up, the block and back, and you could do that a couple of times a day, or taking the time first thing in the morning to maybe get up. You're getting plenty of sleep, maybe get up half an hour earlier. And at 7:30, it's light. It's not dark at that time, so you can definitely get a walk in there. And the strength training is something that I would be encouraging to include. But if you're not currently doing anything now, then I'd be thinking about just adding in a couple of exercises. So pick 3 or 4 exercises. It might be a sit to chair, like a squat action where you're sitting to the chair, standing up, sit to the chair, standing up, doing that 10 times, combine that with the push-up up against the bench or the kitchen table, something like that, or against the wall, 10 repetitions of that. And even just taking a towel and grabbing a tea towel and holding the tea towel on either ends, resting it against the thighs and then lifting up in a front raise to just above shoulder height, doing 10 of those. So we're doing a squat, a push-up and a front raise with a tea towel or a hand towel. Do those 10 times. 3 times through, or maybe 3 different times in your day, but all of a sudden you're going to start moving more, and we are adding an element of strength training in, which even though that seems so small, it is going to make a big difference, and improving the blood sugar levels and increasing the nutritional value, as well as hydrating your body and the benefits you're going to get from that, and starting to move more, is going to see you into your retirement, Megan, in a lot better way, with a lot more energy and more capable and competent in your body, so that you can do some of the activities or travel or whatever it is that you want to do, whatever's important to you. But I hope that helps, and I hope some of the listeners out there, it's given you some tips as well. So we're just making some basic tweaks, adding in improving on options, and not creating a huge overhaul. Thanks for joining me on this segment from Wellbeing Wednesdays, as heard live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might find it helpful, and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to catch the live broadcast? Well, you can tune in Wednesdays from 12 till 2 p.m. on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, or find my info on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. Take care, stay healthy, and remember, it's the little choices every day that create big changes. Talk soon.